Welcome, fellow lovers of the weird and strange. This is Lance, your host of Legends of the Hidden Horde, where we explore the folklore behind the mythical creatures that stalk the dark corners of our globe. A huge thank you to all of you for tuning in. Your ears make these strange journeys possible. If you enjoy the show, please hit that subscribe button, leave me a quick review, and give me a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or X. Your support truly makes a difference. Now, let's dive into the next story. So hop in and take a ride with me. We're following the devil down to Georgia in episode 24, Old Green Eyes. The fog came first, thick and low like breath from the earth itself, rolling through the pines and hickories of what the old maps still called Chickamauga. The name lingers from the Cherokee tongue, meaning something like rivers of death. A reminder that these waters and hills have carried stories of loss long before iron clashed on iron. On this particular autumn night, a lone seeker, call him Stephen, a quiet man who collected fragments of forgotten lore, walked the edges of the National Military Park after hours, drawn by rumors he could never quite dismiss. He carried no weapon, only a small recorder and a respect for thresholds. The park had closed its gates, but the land does not close. He knew the history as well as any. September 1863, 2 days that soaked the fields in blood. Nearly 40,000 men fell or remained along the creek bottoms in Snodgrass Hill. Union and Confederate alike left their dead where they dropped. Some bodies lay for weeks before burial parties could finish the grim work. The ground, they said, still remembers the weight of it. Phantom volleys sometimes crack the quiet even now, and hoofbeats echo where no horses ride. But Stephen had come for the older thread, the one the soldiers themselves whispered about while the guns cooled. Not every tale began with cannon fire. The legend first arrived as a flicker in the mist, just eyes. 2 points of pale green light, steady and unblinking, hovering perhaps 30 yards off the path, where the trees thickened. No body, no sound of footsteps. In some accounts, the thing is only this, floating orbs that drift like will-o-wisps born of sorrow, or perhaps something far older. Witnesses have sworn the lights bob and weave like curious lanterns, then vanish when headlights or flashlights cut the dark. Skeptics speak of reflected eye shine from deer or the tricks of fog and expectation. Yet the green is always wrong, too steady, too knowing, too much like memory given form. Stephen was remembering these stories when he saw them. He didn't run. He had read the variations and knew the land offered no single truth. A low moan drifted next. Long, hollow, carrying the ache of every unanswered question ever asked on this ground. Some say it is the cry of a Confederate soldier whose head was taken by a cannonball, his body buried incomplete so that his spirit walks forever searching. In that legend, Old Green Eyes is a restless ghost, harmless in intent, yet terrible in presence, a reminder that war does not end when the last shot is fired. The head, they murmur, was never found. Or perhaps it was, and still the spirit cannot rest because the land itself refuses to forget. But the green eyes grew brighter, and with them came the second layer, the one that chills deeper because it claims precedence. Long before the first musket smoke curled above these ridges, before the Chickamauga Cherokee faction made their stand in earlier conflicts, before even the great mound-building peoples raised their earthen temples to the sky, something walked here. Local storytellers, those who listen to the hills rather than the history books, speak of a presence already old when the first European feet pressed the soil. A guardian, some called it. A sentinel left by the mound builders to watch over ground considered sacred. A being whose gaze was meant to turn the heedless away from what should remain undisturbed. In this version, the green eyes are not born of cannon smoke, but of an ancient compact between people and place. a living boundary that the massive death of 1863 disturbed rather than created. Stephen felt the shift in the air, a pressure like the land drawing breath. The figure resolved at the edge of sight, tall, moving on two legs with a slow, deliberate gait. Long hair, stringy and dark, clung to its shoulders. The jaw hung wrong, too wide, too heavy, and from it curved pale fangs that caught what little light remained. This was the form the park ranger Edward Tenney described in 1976, the most documented modern encounter. At 4 a.m, Tenney had stood on the same ground, felt the inexplicable cold, and watched the thing pass him with eyes that flashed greenish orange like a wild animal's. It grinned, Tenney said, an expression no human face should make, before vanishing when the car lights swept the road. The ranger was no credulous tourist. He was the park's historian. That single testimony anchors one edge of the legend. Whatever walks here has been seen by those trained to observe. Yet even Tenney's account sits beside others that contradict it. Some nights the entity does nothing more than watch. A group in 1969 reported seeing the eyes, and a sudden chill in their vehicle, and the doors would not open for 20 minutes. Then it released them, as if whatever held them had grown bored or satisfied. Others describe only the weight of being observed, followed by dreams of endless rows of the fallen. Edge cases multiply. A driver who saw nothing but woke with mud on his boots and no memory of leaving the road. A skeptic who camped deliberately and heard only wind, yet can never shake the conviction that something has stood just beyond the firelight all night. The stories refuse to unify. That refusal itself may be part of the truth. The eyes fixed on Stephen now. No threat in the posture, only ancient patience. In their green depths, he did not see fangs or cannon fire. He saw layers, mound earth rising under careful hands, Cherokee feet following game trails, then the sudden rupture of 1863 when brother fought brother and the creek ran the color of rust. He saw the land absorbing it all, holding every scream and every prayer in its roots. The entity was not feeding on death, as some ghoulish versions claim. It was the land's own memory made visible, awakened and perhaps wounded by the scale of what humans had done to one another upon its skin. When the vision passed, the figure was gone. Only fog remained, and the faint green afterimage burned between Stephen's eyelids. He did not record the encounter on his device. Some things, he understood, are not for capture. Old Green Eyes teaches that the earth is not a blank stage upon which human dramas play out and then fade. It is a witness with its own continuity, its own keepers. The entity, whether one chooses to see it as a searching soldier's remnant, a primordial ghoul drawn to sorrow, or an older guardian spirit whose watch predates every flag and every rifle, embodies the truth that violence does not vanish when the living declare peace. It sinks into the soil, into the story, into the very gaze that meets us when we return to the places we have broken. The lessons are humility before the memory of land and the peoples who first knew how to listen to it. Recognition that trauma echoes across generations and across species of story. And the urgent call to cease treating sacred ground, whether battlefield or ancestral territory, as disposable. Indigenous histories of these hills remind us that relationship, not conquest, sustained balance for millennia. When that relationship fractures, something looks back. For the future, the green eyes are a warning and an invitation. As new conflicts rise over resources, borders, the living earth itself, we risk awakening more watchers. The land does not forget the names we give it or the blood we spill upon it. If If we continue to turn away from the older wisdoms that treat places as relative rather than resource, the eyes may multiply until every forest edge and every contested field holds its own unblinking sentinel. Yet, if we choose instead to listen, to honor indigenous stewardship, to remember fully rather than selectively, to walk with the reverence these hills still demand, then perhaps the gaze softens from accusation to guidance. Old Green Eyes does not demand belief. It demands attention. In a world rushing towards forgetting, attention may be the last and most necessary act of survival. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Give me a follow on social media. And until next time, keep your eyes open. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.